win this.
Sure, either side can win. I think it's very play-draw dependent.
I think that's fair.
I can tell you that Team Whitehouse is the higher seed. They should be able to play.
Correct.
And, it's all about just getting on the board as fast as possible here.
Yeah, so the Mono Red Phoenix deck with access to 3 Gut Shot, 3 Lava Dart, that can be very problematic for several humans' hands, but you're also capable of putting together draws that kind of fade that card effectively. Ones that start with Noble Hierarch, usually not on that list. Here we see Soulscar Mage from James Liu, and there you see Gut Shot just taking that Noble Hierarch immediately. Exactly what Mono Red Phoenix wants to do in this matchup.
Yeah, this is the start. Develop your own board and deal with their best one-drop.
Ancient Ziggurat going to be tapped here. Here's Champion of the Parish. Going to want to grow that one pretty quickly. Whitehouse holding breath right now, hoping no second copy of Gut Shot in hand. No, doesn't have a second human to deploy. That's easy cleanup now for Drew Miles. Lava Dart going to take out that Champion of the Parish as Soulscar Mage rumbles across the battlefield. 2 damage.
And this is so funny because, you get the exact start you want, but you don't have the second land.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be the window that the humans deck needs.
Let's see. Up to 3 mana now is the humans player. Does Whitehouse have one of his big plays?
It doesn't even have to be that big.
Militia Bugler, I actually think this is the best potential play here. Having given up 2 cards to removal already, you kind of just want to reload a little bit. Kite Sail Freebooter, not bad. I could think of better hits, but I think Whitehouse is going to be mostly satisfied with that. Turn passes back to Miles, takes his draw here. Can he find a second mana source? He does. It's Sunbaked Canyon. Here's Lightning Bolt on that Militia Bugler. Here's Lava Spike headed to Whitehouse's Dome, and that means the Soulscar Mage is going to be able to rumble through for 3 damage once more.
All right, now things are really starting to churn. We've dealt some damage to the opponent. They have to start being cognizant of their life total, and we're filling up our graveyard.
Yep, Bedlam Reveler just a step away.
If we can roll into a Bedlam Reveler here, it's just going to be huge.
This is absolutely the Mono Red Phoenix playbook in this matchup. Mono Red Phoenix really having a resurgence as of late. I would say a top-tier deck. Honestly, supplanting the Is It Phoenix deck. And here we see the hand from Drew Miles. It's a loaded one. Lightning Bolt, Lava Dart, Bedlam Reveler. That was the card we were afraid of. Not quite online yet.
But getting real close.
Getting close.
And you say this is the next iteration of Is It Phoenix. To me, it's an upgraded burn deck.
Okay.
Where it has some card advantage, it has more late-game staying power, while it still has those aggressive draws, which sometimes just end the game on turn 4.
Yeah, I could see that take.
And we saw our own Ryan Overturf play the Mono Red Prowess deck. He foregoes the Phoenixes.
Very similar.
But he played a top 4 finish of the last Grand Prix.
Absolutely. Ryan Overturf just killing it lately. Making the Grixis Cube, top 4 in Grand Prix. Easy game for Ryan Overturf. Unsurprisingly, that Meddling Mage going to name Lava Dart, cutting off the options for Drew Miles, and Drew just has to pass the turn back here. Maybe this is a window for Evan Whitehouse to seize the initiative in this matchup. Access to some fresh cards via that Waterlogged Grove, should he choose. Or maybe just wants to deploy some threats. Here's Champion of the Parish.
Uh-oh, do we have a lieutenant?
Oh, we do not. We have just Thalia. I thought we were going for the big play there. But still, Thalia, pretty nice grab here with a mana-constrained opponent. One without access to his Lava Darts. Here comes the beats. 3 damage, heads the way of Miles. Looked like Miles found another land. He did. 3 mana now. Bedlam Reveler in hand. At least 1 Lava Dart. Don't know what that third card is. Just passes the turn back. Still no play from Miles.
Yeah, and this is a frustrating spot if you're in Miles' chair where you feel like you're so close getting that big body of the Bedlam Reveler on the board. Just need one more spell in the graveyard. You got all jammed up by the humans. The Lava Dart would do so much work here.
Absolutely. But big play is coming in now from Whitehouse. It's Champion of the Parish, followed by Mantis Rider. And this battlefield quickly getting out of control.
And I think that was the turn. Like, that just added so much power to the board, increased the clock so much more.
Yeah, and Whitehouse feels comfortable keeping back the Medley Mage, keeping back Thalia, keeping back Champion of the Parish. Doesn't want to get blown out by any mid-combat prowess on that Soulscar Mage. Turn heads back to Drew Miles. I think I saw Finale in Drew's hand.
He has one Finale of Promise in his deck. It is one of the most unfortunate draws when you're staring into the face of Thalia.
Here's Faithless Looting for 2 mana. That never feels good. Takes 2 draws. Soulscar Mage, Mountain were the draws. Discards the Soulscar Mage, plays the Mountain. And it's time for Bedlam Reveler. We finally got there. Is it too little too late, Greg?
I think it is. He's taken 4 in the air. There's just another 2 points that has to sneak through here.
Yep.
And you don't even have to worry about, any other cards.
Yeah, and it looks like Drew agrees. Just going to go ahead and scoop him up. And Evan Whitehouse, despite getting the first few creatures picked off by Lava Dart, gut shot, very scary spot to be in. But Evan Whitehouse able to find the win in game 1. And we're going to head to sideboards now for these players. We'll start over on Evan's side. You see 4 Leyline of the Void, 4 Auriok Champion, 2 Collector Roof, 2 Plague Engineer, 2 Militia Bugler, and 1 Deputy Detention. Craig, you have a card you like here by any chance?
Oh, man, the 4 Auriok Champion just seems so good in this situation.
Absolutely.
I see the Militia Buglers potentially coming in as well, help dig for those cards.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That seems just like an absolute KO here against Drew Miles. Obviously, you can race them. You have options, but they're not going anywhere once they hit the battlefield, and some of your other creatures help get them a little bit bigger.
Looking at the other sideboard, there are actually options.
Oh, that's true. Kozilek's Return.
Yep.
Yeah. You see 4 Dragon's Claw, 4 Tormod's Crypt, 2 Abrade, 2 Kozilek's Return, 2 Flame Slash, and 1 Shattering Speed. Kozilek's Return, of course, colorless somehow.
Yep. Makes sense.
What a world we live in.
Well, we had there was a whole block there where there were just random colorless cards that cost colored mana.
In general, mechanics that say this card is what it isn't can be a little bit problematic in my eyes. Yeah. But who am I to judge?
So
I just
looking at this sideboard,
I
I want to get the Lava Spikes out of the deck. I don't think that's the way that we're going to beat the humans deck.
Okay.
Potentially the Finale of Promise is kind of an awkward card. I would find a way to get the 2 Flame Slash, the 2 Kozilek's Return, and the 2 Abrade into the deck. You got a lot more answers for their creatures. The Abrade sometimes just lines up very well against the Chalice of the Void. Not Chalice of the Void. Help me out here, Brian.
Your Ether Vials.
Ether Vial, thank you. And, he's going to be hopefully playing from ahead with a couple of his prowess creatures.
Yeah, I think this matchup is all about initiative. It's all about who can turn the battlefield in their favor, start attacking their opponent. Once you have the initiative, it's very, very difficult for the other side to reclaim it. There are some tools, something like Kozilek's Return, might just line up with the battlefield absolutely perfectly. Finale of Promise, I see why it's a problematic card in this spot, but it is a card that can turn the tables when you're behind. I don't know if that's enough for Drew to keep it in his deck. We'll have to see. We do have some results from our other matchups. There you see Kane Rianhard, as we expected, up a game against Bant Scapeshift, and as we expected, Casey Lancaster down a game against Justin Miller and Sneak and Show. Those matchups thus far are playing out how we thought they would. Well, if you've been as enamored with the decks we've seen this weekend as I have been, you were probably itching to get a chance to play them in a competitive environment. Why not head on over to an invitational qualifier? It's your chance to play the Star City Games Invitational, one of my favorite tournaments of the year every time it shows up. I have such a good time. It feels like the players are of a different class when it comes to the invitational qualifier, or the invitational itself. They're so friendly. They're so thankful for the opportunity to play for that large prize. And it's the culmination of a season's worth of work in a lot of instances. It just feels differently. It feels more important.
Well, the invitational is a big event. It's
Absolutely.
got a huge prize pool
Huge
to
prize
it.
pool.
It's a 3-day event instead of a 2-day event. Mm-hmm. There's a lot else going on that weekend. It's really one of those times where you get to see just how big the Magic community is.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're attending IQs, there are exclusive prizes, $1,000 split amongst the top 8. Of course, those invitational qualifications, SCG points. We know how critical those can be for the Player of the Year race. And that's why when you attend your local IQs, you'll often see some of the best the SCG Tour has to offer. They're trying to get those points. They matter. Top 8 playmat available, of course, and our personality tokens always available at our invitational qualifiers. There you see Sam Black, Dylan Hand, Cedric Phillips, Andrew Ellenbogen, and Ross Merriam featured this go around. If you want more info, head over to go.starcitygames.com/IQ. Always enjoyed playing invitational qualifiers before I basically gave up my playing career and stepped into the booth here.
Oh, I still play in them.
Do you?
Yeah, I played in one last weekend.
I certainly would be if I was on the East Coast. The West Coast, they don't make it out that way quite as often.
Makes sense.
Yeah. When I lived in the Northeast, in the Albany region, quite often I was playing IQs. A lot of stores there often running them.
Sure, I took the Hogak deck for my first drive.
How did it treat you?
So to speak. I didn't have the best results in the event, but it really just showed me how good the deck was. I mean, we see it on camera all the time, but when you're behind the deck piloting it, it's kind of a different experience. I had a blast in the event. You know, won some games, lost some games, played turn 2 Hogak a lot. It was a bunch of fun.
Hogak is a fun deck to play. I mean, look, it's completely beyond what's acceptable. It needs to go, but it wasn't the most miserable of formats. I'll say that. I think it's too powerful. It's problematic for strategic diversity. But as far as games go, it was better than the Eldrazi decks were, I would say.
Sure, it was much harder to fight back against the Eldrazi decks than it is to fight back against dedicated graveyard strategies.
You feel like you have options, at least. I mean, they're not good options. You'll never win, but you have options. That's what's important.
You can win, but it comes at the expense of beating any of the other decks in the format.
Sure. Yeah, the numbers just continue to be ludicrous in Hogak's favor as we get more and more data. Maybe one of the last hurrahs here for Hogak. Of course, we have SCG Dallas coming up in just a couple weeks. That is after the next ban window. We don't know what's going to happen. As we've talked, anything could happen.
Well, you've already made the decision, I thought. You put in the call to Wizards of the Coast earlier today.
They have me blocked, Craig. I cannot get my calls through any longer.
Made that call too many times?
Too many times. They were like, we have asked you politely, Brian, please stop calling.
Brian, you do not get to pick the ban list.
Yes. I'm sure your ideas are great, but you've called every day this week. Please leave us alone. We have work to do. Do you understand that? You understand we have to make these Magic cards. You cannot speak to us on the phone 10 hours a day.
We're working on the next ridiculous Planeswalker for 2 or 3 mana.
High on the priority list. Here is Monastery Swiftspear. Explosive start for Drew Miles. 1 damage. Evan Whitehouse's way. Take that. Unclaimed territory from Whitehouse. I bet that's naming human. Ether Vial coming down. Ether Vial able to create some explosive starts for this deck. Speaking of explosive starts, Manamorphose, kind of the key we didn't see in the last game. That's how things get really out of hand for this Mono Red Phoenix deck. Second Swiftspear joins the party. Lava Spike you were wrong, Craig. They stayed in the deck.
I'm a little surprised to see the Lava Spike
Drew thinks it's important to maintain that really aggressive edge. And along those lines, these Swiftspear is going to rumble in. 5 more points of damage. Whitehouse's life total already creeping downwards to a paltry 11.
Well, and these are the explosive starts that you want, especially when you're on the play.
Absolutely.
With the Mono Red Phoenix deck.
Whitehouse really use a 2-spell turn here. Horizon Canopy. Don't like to see that when you're under a lot of life total pressure. That's going to do a damage to Whitehouse.
The Horizon lands are fickle.
Yeah.
They cut both ways.
Thalia's Lieutenant on an empty battlefield. Here comes Champion of the Parish. Boy. Not the most efficient start, but like we said, have to get on the battlefield. Absolutely imperative. unlikely these creatures can find clean blocks this turn. Maybe a double block, possibly to deal with one of the Swift Spears. We'll have to see how Miles' turn plays out.
Maybe one Kozilek's return.
Maybe one Kozilek's return. That would be a beating.
There it is.
It's a Kozilek's return. Wow. Undoing the work that Whitehouse has done thus far. And 4 points of damage heading Whitehouse's way. Just 6 life now. Ether Vial going to tick up to 2. Whitehouse takes a draw. What can he put together here?
And this game's been pretty absurd. I mean, if you look at things from the human side, you say, I got turn 1 Ether Vial, arguably my best card.
Yep.
Turn 2, I deployed 2 creatures that were 2/2s. It's not like they were just 1/1s that could get picked off easily by a Lava Dart. 2 creatures.
Ooh, here's a nice one from the human side.
Yep. Turn 3, I'm playing this Deputy of Detention, and I still just might be dead this turn.
Well, it seemed like Deputy Detention was going to do some work. Then Flame Slash showed up. Returned both those Swift Spears to the battlefield. Of course, they have haste. Going to waste no time getting back into the red zone as Evan Whitehouse falls to 4. Post-combat Mountain and a Soul Scar Mage. And again, Evan Whitehouse needs to come up with some big answers on this turn. Has an Ether Vial activation. Does he have a 2-drop? No. Going to move to his turn. Tick that Ether Vial up to 3.
And we need a lot this turn, right? Like, we need a Reflector Mage and another creature?
Well, it is possible with that Vial on 3. This could be a huge turn for Whitehouse, but he's going to live the rest of the game in fear of the top of Drew's deck. This could help with that issue.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Auriok Champion and Reflector Mage.
Okay.
This is a nice little series here.
Just knocked a card off the top of his deck by accident.
Just going to place that right back on top.
No harm, no foul.
Reflector Mage returns Swift Spear. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, you think he should return the non-haste creature?
I don't know. I mean, that seems like the obvious play to me. I'm wondering what the reason is for doing it the other way.
Well, and it's the Reflector Mage is just a slightly better blocker. Oh, that's...
It's an Arclight Phoenix.
Every turn's better than the last.
Yeah,
one.
here comes 3 in the air. And now Evan Whitehouse again needs to find an answer. Going to go ahead and cash in that Horizon Canopy. Draws a card. Heads back to his turn.
Yeah, if you bounce the Soul Scar Mage, something like Gut Shot or Lava Dart does not shrink your Reflector Mage out of blocking range all by itself.
Right. Well, we'll have to sit here and wonder. Honestly, unlikely to be determinative of anything. Just a little interesting point. How can Whitehouse follow up here? The life gain engine of Auriok Champion is online. Looks like we're just going to go ahead and cycle Horizon Canopy. Takes a draw. Taps 2 mana. We're looking at Meddling Mage in hand. All right, we're untapping stuff, and that means we're headed to a Game 3 that's going to decide this match between Evan Whitehouse and Drew Miles. That just shows you how explosive that Mono Red Phoenix deck could be, because Evan Whitehouse's draw was good.
That's what I'm saying.
It was solid.
And it seemed very mediocre just the way that the game played out.
Yeah.
Now we could just completely flip things where Evan is on the play. He could potentially go, turn 2 Auriok Champion. It blocks all day, gains a pile of life, and the prowess creatures just don't seem that intimidating.
All right, the story of that game was definitely the very timely Kozilek's return.
Huge.
I think that game starts turning in Whitehouse's favor pretty quickly. Maybe a bit of a surprise coming from the Legacy table. Land's able to take a game against Sneak and Show. Like we said, not unwinnable. It's a tough matchup, but Casey Lancaster, very experienced with the Lands deck, has certainly seen this Sneak and Show matchup before. Able to even things up 1 game apiece. extremely, extremely tight games all around. Pressure builds between these two teams. And if this event has you, like me, itching for action, you're going to want to know about our Dallas Open coming up in just a couple weeks. Check this out. Star City Games, Dallas, sure to be one of the most exciting tournaments of the year. I love going to Dallas to play Magic. You make it down there much, Craig?
I have been to Dallas. It's been a while. What are your favorite parts about Dallas?
The community is super welcoming. I went down there for the Hunter Burton Memorial Open last year and got to hang out with the folks from the Dallas Magic community. All of them were super welcoming. I love unironic cowboy hats. Like, I just think they're awesome. Whenever I see just like a straight up cowboy hat, that's just the best thing to me.
Yeah, it is funny just how you end up in a different world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know, our country is huge, and it often feels to me like multiple different countries stapled together. Dallas is really a crazy place, but a great place. Great people.
A crazy place.
It is a crazy place.
Yeah, you walk around Dallas with a cowboy hat, fit right in.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around North Jersey with a cowboy hat?
Less so.
Less so. But you head into Manhattan, you walk around with your cowboy hat,
then you fit in again.
You're fine again.
Yeah, it's crazy how that goes. I would love to wear a cowboy hat one day, but I feel like if I do it in Dallas, I'm just like posing, and that's not cool. Like, I shouldn't take their culture like that. That seems unfair.
I think they'd be fine with it.
They'll allow me to wear a cowboy hat. If you're a Dallas native and you would like to give me express written consent to wear a cowboy hat next time I come to your neck of the woods, please get in touch with me on Twitter.
If you travel to their area and buy their wares, I don't think they'll have a problem with it.
Turn 1 champion of the parish from Evan Whitehouse.
Another great start.
Gut shot, answered immediately. Monastery Swifter able to get him for 2 damage. Gut shot, a complete beating against this Humans deck.
Yeah, and this is one of the keys against the Humans deck, is just not to let them get too far ahead of you, right?
Absolutely.
Once the 3rd, 4th human hit the board, that's when you're like in a ton of trouble.
Well, we saw Whitehouse play out of similar circumstances last time. In that game, no access to Auriok Champion, but here it is. And that's going to brick wall that Swift Spear very effectively. Let's see if Miles can get wide around it, if he can find the answer in the form of Kozilek's return. Really live in fear of that creature getting bigger with something like Thalia's Lieutenant. Maybe Miles can take to the skies. That's always an option for the Mono Red Phoenix deck.
Looks like Finale of Promise still in the deck as well.
Yeah. And I think I saw an Arclight Phoenix as one of the cards about to be discarded. Let's see. Miles is going to pitch an Arclight Phoenix alongside that Fiery Islet. Here's a Lava Dart targeting Evan Whitehouse, and you know what that means. We're going to cash that in right now. Hit Evan one more time. Bring back Arclight Phoenix and get to work in the skies. That is going to trigger that Auriok Champion.
Yeah, and this was a lot of resources invested into getting that Arclight Phoenix onto the board.
Yeah, I think Miles just believes that Phoenix might be enough to get the job done.
Well, I think Evan might be able to just keep up with it through the life gain. It's unfortunate that he has the Horizon Land dealing him damage right now, but you know, if he gets to the point where he can deploy 2 creatures a turn,
well, yeah, then things are going to get out of hand real quick, because now we were looking at double Auriok Champion, and we have a result as forecasted. Kane Rianhard with Bant Ramp takes down James Liu on Bant Scapeshift, and that means Evan Whitehouse could be playing for the match right now. Double Auriok Champion on the battlefield. Here's a second land from Miles.
It's always
Arclight
nice.
Phoenix cruising in.
When the teammate picks up that first W real quick in the match.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes you feel like you got a little momentum on your team's side.
What does Evan have here on turn 3? Would love to get away from the pain of that Horizon Canopy. Also wants to make sure those champions are able to pad his life total a bit. Here's Phantasmal Image.
Kozilek return or bust.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is copying a champion. We'll get confirmation of that, of course. Here come those first two champions rumbling into the red zone. And we have confirmed Phantasmal Image on Auriok Champion, meaning the life gain engine is fully online for Evan Whitehouse. Here's a lightning bolt. That's going to bring Whitehouse down to 9 at the end of his turn. What's the follow-up here from Drew Miles? It's Faithless Looting. Monastery Swift Spear. Manamorphose.
Yeah, we don't know what the game plan is right now, but it probably doesn't involve another Swift Spear at this point.
I don't think so, and we're also still a mana short of Kozilek's Return as it stands. That means we're at least 2 draw steps away, unless Miles has a land he can keep here, but I don't see one. I see a Flame Slash blanked by this battlefield somehow.
The complete pro-red battlefield. You play mono-red, we play mono-pro-red.
I'll tell you, Auriok Champions have been floating in and out of this Humans deck. Evan Whitehouse getting paid big time for having them in his deck this weekend. Gonna fall to 6 here.
You know, the full 4 copies, too.
Yeah, going hard on those champions. And it makes sense given the uptick in Mono Red Phoenix, how good this deck has proven itself to be. I see some pointing. That means there's options available to Whitehouse, and that's got to be scary for Miles, because any creature played here represents a 3-point life swing.
Yeah, tons of life, and if it's something like a Reflector Mage...
Reflector Mage would be backbreaking here. Absolutely backbreaking.
Even a Lieutenant.
It's a Lieutenant. That's going to go ahead and trigger.
Gain 3 life, grow the board. That's a big card.
Yeah, these champions are starting to become a very effective clock on top of this all.
He's trying to mix colored dice on us. No, 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 my friends.
It's too late in the day to confuse me, Evan. You have to be very delicate with me right now.
Yeah, think about us here in the booth, man.
Here come those Auriok champions headed into the red zone. Drew Miles going to fall to 11. Takes the turn back. We believe he has Finale in hand. That could present some interesting options should he find a 3rd mana. I think he has Manamorphose in hand as well. What's the 3rd card? It's a land. Now he's going to think very carefully about this turn, and you understand why. If we have his hand read correctly, there are important decisions to make right now.
Yeah, he really needs to think about how to finish off the game next turn.
Either that or he has to think about digging to Kozilek's Return. Those are the 2 options. You either end this game or you figure a way to reset the battlefield.
But even the Kozilek's Return plan could become undone. Another Thalu's Lieutenant.
Right. It's risky.
You know, another Phantasmal Image, and those champions are just going to be out of range.
The play is going to be Finale. Targeting Faithless Looting, Lightning Bolt. Makes sense. Lightning Bolt headed towards Evan's face, going to fall to 6. Now it's time for Faithless Looting. Draws 2. First card, Gut Shot. Second card. Oh, he's making us wait for it. I think it was Bedlam Reveler. Not 100% on that.
Which, I mean, that's close to being a good card.
No, it was a Braid. And now here comes that Phoenix. Whitehouse is going to fall to 3. He needs to have a creature in hand. We assume he does.
Well, it's possible he needs 2 creatures. He could just be staring in the face of another burn spell.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Drew looks jacked here,
This
right?
game is tight.
Yeah.
No Lava Dart sitting there, right? Nothing to mess up the math that way. We still believe the last card in hand is Manamorphose. Does that track with what you've seen thus far?
Yeah, I didn't get a good look at it, but I mean, you know what a Manamorphose looks like.
The camera can play tricks on you sometimes, but that is my guess. And that means there's going to be a few looks at it if all he needs to do is find one burn spell.
Yeah, you get some redraws there.
No real idea what's in Evan's hand as it stands. There's a few cards we can guess aren't there because they would be windmill slammed right now. Things like Thalia's Lieutenant sound pretty good. Thalia's Lieutenant alongside a 1-drop sounds nice.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, we're not looking at 2-drop, 1-drop here. I think that would have just happened right away. Cards that could be kind of clogging up his hand that he just wouldn't have had time to play. If he drew an either vial any time past the first turn,
Right.
like he just hasn't been able to deploy that card.
Meddling Mage. That explains a lot of thinking. 'Cause
Okay.
this is a very crucial name. We will, of course, get confirmation what that Meddling Mage is naming.
Yeah, and the guess is, Lava Spike or Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. It is naming Lightning Bolt. And these 3 creatures are going to head into the red zone. 6 damage heading Miles' way. And the turn passes back. What will the top of the deck yield? No, wait. There's a second play. Just Ether Vial. Okay. Not really a game changer. Has the Lava Spike in hand. And Drew Miles evens this matchup. 1 match apiece. And that means, for all the marbles, Casey Lancaster playing lands, going to take on Justin Miller playing Sneaking Show.
Oh, and to sneak out that game in the face of all those Oriox champions?
So close.
Wow. And I was questioning.
Look at James Luke clutching his chest. He was feeling it in that game, 100%.
The line of moving in on the Phoenix that early in the game, using all of those resources to make it happen.
It paid huge dividends.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, what if the opponent bounces it with something? What if the opponent...
Oh, Reflector Mage was backbreaking at any point in that game.
If they've got Mana Strider just to trade with it, what if he just starts, making too many drops where his team grows out of control, he gains too much life?
Right.
But it was
a lot of what ifs, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, he picked the right line and crossed the finish line just a turn before his opponent did.
So, let me set the stage for you in this Legacy matchup. Casey Lancaster's on the draw. Justin Miller on the play as Sneakin' Show, down to 5 cards. But he just played a bunch of those cards, and one of the cards he played, let's get that in big picture right now, because this may be a very quick game. It's Show and Tell.
Yeah, this is absurd. The turn 1 Show and Tell with more mana available, and obviously we're all assuming there's a big payoff here.
And a sphere sitting in Casey Lancaster's hand. I mean, if that last card is anything, this game is essentially over.
What if it's Omniscience?
Okay, then we get to sweat for a little bit, but...
That's among the more interesting cards it could be.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is where you spam that "not like this" emote. Using all 5 cards in the hand. This is why you play this deck. You have access to draws like this.
What are you guys think? Are you putting them on just the Gristle brand?
I think he's just got it. It's Gristle brand.
It's always a Gristle brand.
And it's Thespian stage for Casey Lancaster. That's not lining up too well. Caracas, maybe you could do something. Probably not. He's just going to draw 14 cards here if he chooses. Start with 7. See what they do for you. Mulligan's erased, by the way. Pretty effectively.
Back in it.
Yeah. Just going to go ahead and pass the turn back to Casey Lancaster. Draws a Dark Depths.
Close.
Interesting.
Yep, he's got a crop rotation.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a diamond?
Do we have a green source?
If Casey Lancaster can find a way out of this predicament, This is going to be an all-time classic here in the SCG Tour. 2 Sphere of Resistance in hand for Casey.
Man, the London mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big get for Sneak and Show, without question. Here's that Mox.
All right, this is a good start.
It's going to pitch Port. Taps 2 mana, plays Sphere. Looks like we're going to activate Gristlebrand in response to that. 7 more cards. Headed Justin Miller's way. You think any of them will be good?
Oh, you don't get to cut this deck. It was not shuffled. And yes, I think they're all going to be good.
Spell Pierce as an option, should he want to respond to that Sphere. Gonna crack that Lotus Petal. There is Spell Pierce. There'll be no Sphere. Casey Lancaster forced to just pass the turn back.
And he didn't make a land drop for the turn.
Casey did. He played. Oh no, he didn't. He had Thespian Stage from the
Show and Tell.
Show and Tell. You are correct. Yeah, so he had to pitch the Rashad Import to the Mox Diamond. No third land for Casey. Team of Miller, Miles, and Lou on the precipice of taking down SCG Richmond. Can they close the door? Gristlebrand pretty effective at doing that on an uncontested battlefield. Lancaster going to fall to 13. Miller up to 11.
We'll see what Miller wants to do here. You know, there's a good argument to be made for just drawing 7 more cards, finding the cards to close out the game right here. If you can, obviously, Omniscience into Emrakul, take another turn, win the game.
Yeah, you see Sneak Attack in Justin Miller's hand. I believe Emrakul is there as well. Don't think we've turned up the mana quite yet to take advantage of that. We are going to activate Gristlebrand again. Means Miller is back down to 4. 7 more cards.
And this is a lot of cards he's drawn this game.
Yep. 21 thus far. That's Omniscience. That's Emrakul. That's Show and Tell. Has access to 3 mana. Looks like we're setting up for a discard phase. Is that your read on this situation?
Does look like it. So that looked like an intuition to me, and not a show and tell.
Okay, that would make perfect sense.
And it potentially could also be a cunning wish.
I think your read of intuition might be right now that you say that. Yeah, it looks like we're putting together our 7-card hand that we're going to be keeping. Says, I will discard all these.
Ooh, and I kind of don't like discarding the Emrakul here. It's going to shuffle everything back into the library. There's only a few very specific cards that he wants at this point, which must still be in this rather small library.
That is true. Must have felt that keeping the 7 specific cards he did keep was worth the shuffle.
Sure, yeah, we think he kept 1 Emrakul already, so a second Emrakul is rather redundant.
Sure. Lancaster took a draw here. Surprise, it was a land. Usually what you're looking for here with this deck. Gonna go ahead, tap 2 mana. Wasteland first. It is another attempt at Sphere of Resistance. And we're going to see an intuition in response. Justin Miller is going to fall to just 2 life. we're going to go searching for some show and tells.
Yeah, and I think this is going to do it. So the next turn we're going to play, we can attack with our Griselbrand, go back up to 9, play a Mana Source, show and tell, put the Omniscience in play,
Emrakul.
put the Emrakul into play, take the extra turn, attack for 40 billion.
Yeah, unless there's something in Casey Lancaster's hand that we're just not accounting for, this should be about it.
Well, now he has to worry about the sphere as well.
Right? Right, not many options left at this point. Casey is going to pass the turn back. Griselbrand attacks. Casey Lancaster falls to 6. Justin Miller back up to 9.
Yep. We're going through the motions here.
Here's City of Traders. 5 mana, got to account for that sphere. It's show and tell. What do you think he's going to put into play? Oh, it's Omniscience. And it's Emrakul. And that is going to get the handshake from Casey Lancaster.
Doggy.
And that means the team of Miller, Miles, and Lou are your SCG Richmond champions. A dominant performance from this team, really breaking through with a big result here on the